whole command I would need to type in order to go back to my home directory. Is there a shorter way? Yes. So basically, there is a shortcut. I know it doesn't seem too significant here, but when you are deep somewhere in the system, deep on the file tree, typing in these commands to go back and forth can be a tedious task, and knowing these shortcuts can help you a great deal to, well, basically preserve your nerves and save time. So just type in tilde, there you go, slash, and if I type in downloads, there you go. I'm gonna go straight into the downloads folder from here, or I could just type in this. There you go. If I type pwd, I indeed am in my home directory of the current user. Keep in mind that the cd tilde will only take you to the current home directory of the, sorry, not to the current home directory, there is no such thing, to the home directory of the current user. So it won't take you to the, if you, for example, had, let's go back a step, let's do an ls. So this is my user, but you can have practically an infinite amount of users here. And if I typed in cd tilde, it would take me back, it would basically take me back only to this folder, as that is my current user name. This is my host name. So this is the host name here, and this is my username, just so you know what is signified here. And this is my current directory, so to say. The entire path is not listed, but the current one, the name of the current directory is, which is very, very nice. Let's go ahead and clear the screen, and let's go back to the ls command. Now, ls command has a large amount of arguments. So what are arguments to commands? Basically, it's an additional instruction that you give to a command, which modifies the way that particular command behaves. So if I just type in ls, oh well, let's change the directory to root, because I'm going to have more stuff to list there. And if I type in ls here, okay, so you see what happens. I get a list of directories in this fashion, but that's about it. I get a list of not just directories, I get a list of everything that is within this directory, which is root. But so what? It doesn't tell me any information. It doesn't tell me the size. It doesn't tell me the last date when it was modified. It doesn't give me the permission. It doesn't give me the ownership. Nothing. Okay, let's try to change that. Let's type in ls space -l. So this -l is an argument to a command which will modify its behavior. Press enter, and there you go. You can see how this particular listing, this particular listing is completely different from this listing. Why? Well, the lower listing, or the later listing, is far more verbose in comparison to the first one. It gives you a lot more information, and it's really useful. So this is basically the owner. This is the ownership group, size, last date when it was modified. Now, how do you know, is this a directory, or is this a text file, or something of a kind, or is this a file or a directory or whatever? So it says here basically the first letter, it says directory, D. The first letter, L, it's a link. Do we have anything that's not a link or directory here? No, I'm afraid we do not. Let's go into var ls-l. Do we have anything here? Nope. Log. There's bound to be something here. And there we go. So if it's just a dash, basically like this, it says secure, then you can go ahead and open it. It's basically a text file. It's basically a file. It doesn't necessarily have to be a text file. Everything is a file in Linux, but it's not a directory which contains other files. Let's put it so. Let's open it up. There's another command which you can use. It's called less. I think I shall speak more about text editing commands and text display and the commands which you can use for text displaying, but here I just want to demonstrate how you can confirm that indeed it is not a directory, rather it's not Samba secure, and instead it's what does it say? Permission denied. What could that be? What could the reason be? It doesn't actually allow us to list the contents of the secure file of the file named secure. What is the problem? Well, let's take a look. The owner of this file is root group, that is, and the root user, because this column here, it tells you who the owner is, which user is the owner, and this column here actually tells you to which group does own that file. Two different things. Let me just explain this further to you. Let's say that a company has a Linux system running, and that you have within that company management department, and you have accounting department. So there will be users in accounting department, which would belong to an accounting group, and there will be users in the management department that would belong to management group. So you would have, I don't know, Kevin Smith, who belongs where it says root here. You would have, I don't know, Kevin Smith that belongs to the group accounting. You also have this group, which I am displaying here, which is root. That is fundamentally for control of all things on the system. Root is pretty much is almighty. There is nothing that is beyond the grasp of root. Anyway, let's just go ahead and clear the screen here. As I said, I will deal later on more with text editing commands and how you can create files, edit them, and less for the time being. I just want to show you the ls and explain it further. So ls-lh and a. Excellent. So what has changed? What can you notice that has changed in the output of this file? It says 4 kilobytes. 4 kilobytes again, 12 kilobytes. These files are pretty small. There's nothing in megabytes here to show, but it doesn't matter. This is basically a human readable format of file sizes. Look at the difference. Just okay, so how easy is it to read this? You have to compute basically to figure out the file size. I mean, it's pretty small here, so you can say it's 4 kilobytes, but I mean, imagine if I don't know, 4.5 gigabytes were represented in kilobytes. That would be hilarious, because you would have a huge number here, and you would basically need to compute how much is that in gigabytes, which is absurd. Rather, instead, you can just add h to the ls command, the argument h, and you will immediately get the file sizes for pretty much all the files here. One more thing. You have a, which enables you to list pretty much everything. That there are no if there are some hidden folders, they will be listed, rest assured. You can also say that it omits these two if you want, but that's not a big deal. Rather, instead, this is your current directory. It represents your current directory, and this one, it represents the directory which precedes this one. So dot and double dot. I've shown that with the cd command. Anyway, let's go ahead and clear the screen now and type in ls space -- help. This is a universal way to get more information on what a particular command does and what sort of arguments can you actually pass to that command. You can also try typing in -h, but that's not going to work for ls. You see, it just prints things. Rather, instead, just type in -- help. Most of the commands will accept -h, but -- help is more universal. Let's put it so. If I press enter, I don't have a listing of the current directory. Rather, instead, I have a help menu which pretty much gives me the list of all arguments. It tells me what each of those arguments does, and on top, let me just show you. On the top, it gives me the example of usage. Very nice, right? So ls, and then I pass in the option, which is one of the arguments below, and you might notice that there is also a file here. So what could this mean? Let's have a look. But before we do, I would strongly recommend to all of you, these things are pretty simple. Just feel free to read through some of them. You don't have to read through all of them. The ones that you will be using on daily basis will be the a, hold on, the -h, of course. It's the -h, which is right here. Also, you have the long version of the argument. So instead of -8, you can also pass this long version of it, but I don't think that there is ever a need for such things. It doesn't actually to not print group names to shorten the output if you want. Okay, so what else are we going to need? Let's see if there's anything else. Ignore pattern different. There is definitely something. There we go. I knew I was looking for something that I wanted. -R. It's basically recursive, so lists subdirectories recursively. Now we're going to try to use that, as it's going to come quite in handy. Look at what I'm going to do. So clear. If I type in from here ls tilde slash home, sorry, I don't need home, I'm already there. Let's go to downloads. Yep, there we go. Downloads. And there is literally nothing there. Okay, forget about that. Let's go ls just of the root directory, and then type in var. Okay, so I have just told it to list the contents of the directory var. Press enter. There we go. Even though my current working directory is var log, I have stated that I want the directory to be listed, that some directory should be, the contents of some directory should be listed. So here you can actually specify a path direct to the directory you wish to see. So you can see the contents of any directory on the system from any location on the system, as long as you have the proper permissions to do so. Let's try something else. Let's try ls-r/boot. This is going to give you a lot of information. Subs. Where is it? ls should be around here somewhere. There we go. So there we go. ls space -r for recursive output, space path to the file, path to the directory. Okay. The first thing that it does, it gives me the listing of /boot. Second thing that it does, it gives me the listing of /boot grub2, and then it shows me what is in that directory. And then you see the directory grub2 has a subdirectory of fonts. The next thing it does boot grub2 and then fonts, and then it shows me the listing of that particular directory, and so on and so forth, into as long as there are subdirectories to the current directories. It shows the entire listing of pretty much everything. A fantastic way to go about things, and you are able to see pretty much anything anywhere. Anyway, I shall call the tutorial here, and then we will continue in the follow-up. Welcome everybody to this tutorial. Today I'm going to go over a few more commands with you. The first one that we shall deal with is the command man. So man actually is basically a manual or man pages for a specific command. So for example, you can type in man ls, and it's going to tell you everything that there is to know about the ls command. Sometimes the help part of the command, so ls help, is not formulated to the best, and you get a list of arguments, but for example you don't get the description of what each one of those arguments does. You only get the syntax of the command and how you should type it in, but you don't really know how it actually, what will a certain argument do to the command, how will it modify it. Man pages also have a help menu, so if I just type in man-help, you see that I have a lot of options here. Most of these things are actually related to the search part, to searching through man pages, or to searching for the right portions of the man pages and formatting their output. But I didn't really find it necessary over the course of the years to use most of these. Basically, man and a certain command will suffice. Anyway, aside from that, I would recommend that you just go ahead and read through them. just to see what options you have. You don't need to memorize them as you always have them in the help bar, but just have a look at it and that will be sufficient. It's a good thing to know how to use man pages and just to know that they are there so that you can refer to another source if the help menu doesn't actually suffice. Let's just go ahead and clear the screen. The next command which I wanted to deal with you is touch. Touch is used for creating files. And in combination with this, I will also teach you how you can actually search through your system for a certain file. Now, usually there are two methods. One is preferred over the other. For example, you have locate, and so very simple, plain English language, and you have find. Now, locate is a lot faster than find, but it does require the database to be updated. And don't get intimidated right away. There is not the process of updating the database is basically one word command. That's it. Anyway, before we get into that, let's just go ahead and see how touch works. So touch, and let's say that I want to create file 1. File 1. So this is just a reference name that I'm creating. You can basically smash your keyboard here and name your file. There are some limitations as to how you can name your file, but generally you can pretty much name it to anything within pretty much anything that suits you. So let's let's use file 1. Let's do it like this, file 01. And if I press enter and then if I list it, you can see that the file 101 is there. But look, there is a shortcut to the ls. If you don't want to do this ls space -l for the long listing, which is generally more preferable than just the ls, you can simply use the ll command. And if you use the ll command, by default, you will be given a long listing for that directory. ll works pretty much the same as ls, so you just type in ll. You can also specify a path, so let's say the root, simple as that. And you can also say ll-r-root boot. You see, it gives the recursiveness here. So it works in the same way, except you just tab L twice and press enter and get a long listing. It saves you a ton load of time. Trust me on that one. Anyway, we have created file 1, but we can also create multiple files like this, as it is a rather fast way of doing that. So we just do touch, and you can also specify a directory where you want the files to be created. For example, I can go ahead and type in downloads, and then I can say, I don't know, file 02. Downloads, sorry, file 03. And then I can change the directory path. I can say, okay, now I want you to go to documents, and I'm gonna say file, oops, I messed it up with a 03. I'm gonna fix it shortly. I can say here file 04. So it gives you the ability to create files pretty much anywhere on your system where you have a permission via the single command line. Very useful. So we press enter, and there we go. It has indeed created them. You can confirm it by doing the listings. So downloads. There you go. So file 02 and 03. And you can see there's another file. It says find me. I have used it to conduct some tests previously. If I go ahead and type in documents, here you go. You see that the file 04 is indeed there. Just go ahead and clear the screen and deal with the subject of two more commands, which is find and locate. We're going to deal with find first. You will use find only if you know where something is in specific. You definitely don't want to use find to search through your entire system, because that's going to take a while. Not a pretty sight, I can tell you that. Not a pretty wait. But here you go. You can type in find. That's why we use locate, that uses a database that's much faster, that can search through the entire system at practically no time. So just you type in find, and then you're going to specify the directory in which you want it to search. You don't need to specify the directory. You can just go ahead and type in your search pattern here with an argument, but rather instead I want to specify a directory because it would be highly inefficient to actually just say go ahead and search through the whole system. Although sometimes you need to do that, and that's why locate is so nice. I personally always use locate instead of find, but I just figured I would show it to you anyway. Let's say that I want to go into my home directory, and there I will conduct a search. So if I type in name, then space, quotation marks, I will say file 01, search. Excellent. So it has found it relatively fast. It says home random guy file 01. It has been found indeed. But what if I did this? What if I change this letter to lowercase letter? Guess what? Nothing is found. It does not exist. Linux is case sensitive. I believe that I've mentioned this previously. If not, oh well. And two files having the same name, the only difference being lowercase letters and uppercase letters, are two completely different names for the Linux system. So it is case sensitive to the point of extreme, and you should all be very much aware of it. If you want to ignore the case, the usual argument for the commands which deal with text formatting is -i. So you just add -i to the name, and you see it has indeed found it. Usually -i is to ignore something, generally in all commands. Anyway, I could have just said if I don't specify a folder path, it's gonna, oops, let's see, where am I at the moment? So pwd. Okay, so I'm in home and random guy, and if I am in the current working directory where the file is located, and if I do this, it's gonna find it. But suppose I am not. Suppose I do go and change it to root. Oops, what has happened here? Well, first of all, we have been issued permission denied for a ton load of folders. If I do ll, we are unable to access most of these folders as our current users, so the find will not even be able to look for them there. That's the first problem. The second problem is that even though it can access the home directory, it hasn't actually found it because it is only looking here. There we go. So all of these things are permission denied, you are unable to access it. Be sure that you execute a find command from a place where you have access to other folders and their subfolders. Please be aware of that, otherwise you will not be able to actually execute find at all. You will just get the same error that I have gotten. So here you go. I typed in find, and it says iname, and it says file 01. Excellent. So it has immediately found it here in the home, even though I'm in my root directory, no problems. So it does jump in to the folders recursively, which is very nice. But look here, where it tries to look for the file, it says permission denied, permission denied, permission denied. You cannot access these files or folders, and provided that your file is in one of those places, it will not be able to find it at all. That can be extremely problematic. That's why we need root permissions, sudo and su. Later on we will deal with that, but for the time being I just want to show you this. Anyway, if I go ahead and clear the screen, there is another command which we can use, which is very nice. I personally prefer to use it. It's called locate. And if I just type in locate, so file 01. Oh, what is this? It hasn't found anything. What could be the problem? Well, as I said, locate uses a database, and that database is updated on daily basis, which is resource inexpensive but also inefficient. However, the beloved Linux creators and the locate creators, developers, have left us with a very nice option here. It's called, you just type in update db, press enter, cannot open temporary file. Oh yeah. Okay. So one more thing. You cannot do the update without the root permissions. In order to obtain root permissions, well, you just type in su, press enter, type in your root password. You're not going to see anything here. It'll be blank. This is done as a precautionary measure, and of course I've typed in the wrong password. You see, when I type in my password, nothing is shown. In Unix, Linux-like systems, every time you type your password into the terminal, usually 99% of the cases, the length of the password will not be shown. It will not show as though you're typing anything. Don't worry, it's not broke. It's just a security precaution so that if somebody's watching across your back, over your back, they won't be able to see the length of the password on the screen, which is a very nice feature, and I would very much like for Windows to implement it as well. Although it is not really practical, as I say, you just have to get used to it, because even though you're typing something, you can't see anything on the screen. I would also like some other services, for example, like Gmail or Amazon as well for cloud hosting and stuff like that, to actually implement that version of authentication so that the lengths of the password are not shown, because if somebody has the length of your password, the amount of possible combination reduces drastically. Anyway, now that we are root, let's go ahead and clear the screen. So you can see that I am no longer random guy. I am root at, this is my host name. I'm gonna change the host name later on, but for the time being, this is the one. So I am logged in now as root at this host name, at this machine. Let's type in update db. Excellent. And let's type in locate again. So locate, and what do we need? We need file 01. There we go. It has found it immediately. But look. You can type in -- help, and there's an ignore option here. There you go. Look, it is the same, exactly the same as with the find command. So -I clear, type in locate -I file 001. Okay, let's kill the capital letter. Excellent. So let's just change the name a little bit more. Let's type in like this. It's still gonna find it, so no problems. But let's say you don't know the whole name of the file, you just know the fragment of the name or the portion of the name or something of a kind. Well, that can be problematic. So what you want to do is type in locate -I space, and here you can actually just type a fragment of the file name. So I don't know, let's say it's, wait, this is gonna give me too much stuff, but let me just show you. So file, look at how much stuff we got. And I don't want to zip through all of this, but I can assure you that the name is actually within this. However, you do need to actually filter it a little bit more. So let's say underline and a 0. There we go. It has indeed found what we were looking for, and in addition to that, what we were looking for, it has also found anything else containing this particular pattern. Anyway, the file is actually contained here as well, somewhere, God knows where. But if you don't actually know anything, if you just know a fragment of the name, then you're actually going to have to manually zip through this unless you are able to learn more or guess more about the name of the file. Eventually, if you zip through all of it, you will find it, God knows where, somewhere, I guess. But you can immediately, I mean, if you're looking for libraries or something of a kind, you generally know that they're in user share lib, somewhere of a kind. Or if you know where you've approximately saved something, you don't need to search through the entire file system. You can just specify a path and then a name to the path. You can just specify a path. Hold on, I didn't show you how to do that with locate. Let me just do this. So locate file 0. And if I say home, okay, so has it actually been able to find anything? Yep, there we go. So in addition to a ton load of stuff, which is basically your home directory, as it has taken that as a search pattern as well, it has actually managed to find this. But this is not what we're looking for. This is not good enough because it is taking the folder